asalaamaaleykum mbokk yi dellusiwaat nañ fii Choice Africa TV ñu am mbégte di dalal sun honorable Khalifa Salla asalaamaaleykum baɗumol nin kanintelu ngal be welcome ngal buña Choice Africa TV saf koneklom alni lamin cham jang minaba keri jannata honorable Khalifa Salla la suwol to jang honorable Khalifa Salla, now that there is corruption and financial mismanagement has been uncovered from the former regime of the Gambia. You as an MP, are you going to hold executive accountable for how taxpayers' money is being spent?
Well, as you have said in your preamble, we formed this coalition because Gambia had never changed through the ballot box. And when you have governments that exist for decades, they transform themselves into a monarchy. And the institutions that should check the manner of government of the country will become weak. And once you have weak institutions, weak National Assembly, weak judiciary, obviously those who control power will abuse power. So no one doubts that power has been abused in the Second Republic. And you can go down, if you were to ask the questions, that Gambia failing to change for 52 years through the ballot box had been detrimental to the whole concept of good governance. And good governance is ensuring that people who own power exercise their freedom of expression, their freedom of assembly, freedom to even belong to political parties, freedom to use the media to explain the programs of the parties, freedom to criticize how government operates. And in that sense, you weaken the monarchical powers of the executive and transform them into public trustees. So once you have that, then you know that tax is based on a law.
Yes.
The law says collect these taxes. The law says put it in the consolidated fund. The law says spend it on education, spend it on health, spend it on roads, spend it on information, spend it on television. So it tells you where to put the money. And the Auditor General every year will come and say, this is the law, this is the money provided, this is how it should spend. Let me go and check whether the money is spent that way, and then present a report to the National Assembly within 6 months after auditing, so that before the end of the next financial year, you would have audited the accounts. If somebody is to spend this, and they spend more than that, you say, well, this overspending, this unauthorized expenditure, then pay it back. So at the end of the day, you know, you cannot have the type of corruption you are talking about. Because the system will check it and ensure that the right thing is done. Now, when you allow something to happen for decades, then you come and take over power. What do you do? So that is the challenge. That's what you call a transition. The coalition was designed to bring about a transition where we put an end to the past and begin a new process where all Gambians will take ownership of the country. And the instruments of governance, constitutions and laws will be reformed in collaboration with the people, so that everybody will see that this is why we have this constitution. This is what it is all about. Because a constitution, now the president, and in the past the president, just appoint ministers and dismiss them when the president wants. In a properly managed system where there is good governance, when a president appoints a minister, an ambassador, a director, a governor, anybody, that person must appear before the National Assembly so that questions will be put, any concerns will be put to know that the presidential appointee meets the criteria that the law requires, that the country requires, that good governance requires. So in that sense, then, you have parliamentary oversight of what happens. So to answer your question, yes, that is the duty of the National Assembly, and as an elected member, because of all the wrongdoings of the past, it is our duty to try to prevent the wrongdoings. It is our duty also to ensure that the wrongdoings are addressed in such a way that it will be progressive. It will lead us into a new society rather than moving us back into settling scores. So that is what is important. That is the challenge now. And there is absolutely no doubt that I will play my quota, and I'm playing my quota. We just had a national conference organized by the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, and I've emphasized there what I believe to be the way forward. That we must ensure that we create a new Gambia where every single Gambian will be able to take ownership of the country and will be a beneficiary of the policies of government. That is what should be. And I must open my eyes to see that everything that fails to move us towards that direction will be exposed. That is my duty, and I will perform my duty without any doubt.
In that duty, UDP MPs being the majority, and your PDOIS also, won't you think it's going to be difficult for them to support your ideas that you can enable for a change? If yes, how?
Well,
and if you say no, how?
Well,
why?
I believe if you saw the processes at the National Assembly, there are many suggestions that I gave for this to be done, and it was accepted by all. So the National Assembly, Section 112, states that National Assembly members must put national interests before personal interests. And they must not seek to enrich themselves at the expense of the people, but at all times must defend the integrity of the National Assembly. Well, that's for UDP, NAMS, DOI NAMS, all NAMS. And what we are going to be considering is a budget. We must ensure that that budget is put where you serve the interests of the people. What we are going to consider would be laws, bills. We must ensure that the bills that we pass will serve the interests of the people. And any individual in the National Assembly who fails to do that because of partisan interest, you would have failed the public. And this time, it will not be in secret, it will be exposed. Clearly, what we failed to do in the past as a people is to give value to our national institutions. All citizens and all of you must be part of that advocacy, must be aware of what happens in that National Assembly. And the national media plus the private media must be encouraged. The national media, in fact, is a matter of must to cover all National Assembly proceedings. That's what the public must demand from the public broadcaster, so that you will hear the bills that people support.
Yes.
You will hear the ideas that people support. And you will know whether those are the type of people you will vote for when they come to you again. I believe that this is the new era that could be brought about, and I hope those of you who are now in the media, you'll be able to, just like TFM, have your own private television station.
Inshallah.
I hope that happens.
Inshallah.
So that even if the public broadcaster fails, the private media will be there to cover this story.
But going back to that again, your 20 years experience or more in government or politics, right? Don't you think it would have been better you join the coalition government to move on, rather than stepping aside, or they push you, or you step aside by yourself and other people that are in the coalition government carry on? A lot of people have in this kiosks in the towns that cannot reach you or whatever are saying, why? Luta, Manatina, it's a big kiosk. Many out there, in the combos, ladies that don't have access 24 hours to internet or televisions or radios. It's a big question. Myself, even I want to say, why?
I am very lucky.
Where? Okay.
I'm very lucky
Thank you.
to have become sensitized when I was 16 and a half. It's when I attended a symposium addressed by Stokely Carmichael.
16 years and old.
When I was 16 and a half.
Thank you.
And I was so impressed by his eloquence. I said that, well, I must be a material for my continent. I, well, luckily or unluckily, left here when I was 17 and a half. I've not even finished my high school, to finish my high school in the United States, in Rabon Gap, where I stayed in a boarding school for 2 years to finish my high school career. And while I was there, nothing occupied my mind except preparation to come back to serve my country and my continent. So I was a political being from a very early age. And my life in Rabonga was symbolic because of the eloquence and because of the discipline. I changed the mentality that was there, and I was never subjected to any form of degradation because I went there fully matured and fully knowing who I was. I went into college and finished my college education in 3 years. It's a 4-year college in School of the Ozarks in Missouri, one of the oldest colleges. A self-reliant college with its airport, with its restaurants, and we produce electricity, it produces. That's where I knew if a college can be self-reliant, what about a nation? They had their farms, their dairy produce, the college produced everything.
Everything for themselves.
For themselves. And I look at this as if a college can do
it. A village can do it. A village more than a nation. Yes.
So therefore, to me, I see what self-reliance was. And in 3 years, I finished my course, sometimes taking 18 credit hours, because I was in a hurry to come back to serve my people. I left that college and went into Howard University to do a joint, I had to enter into a joint master's PhD program to hasten to quicken. I was doing the program at the age of 23 is when I started that program. In order to hasten that between 26, 27, I would have been back to the Gambia to be able to serve my country. So I must say that from the very beginning, my intention was to serve, not to occupy a post. That is why when I came here, I could have gone back to finish my education. But then I met a group of Gambians because we had the African Youth Movement for Liberation and Unity in the United States, where people like Kwame Karikari, his Professor Kwame Karikari was in Ghana. They were all part of our movement. It is Kwame Karikari who introduced me to Samsar, even though we are from the same country, because they were together. So you see, we had a Pan-African movement where all of us felt that we must come back to the African continent to liberate. That's how we started our work and build it up. And eventually, of course, I was arrested, and then I resigned from the job in 1983 to continue our politics. We built our party in 1986, built our newspaper in order to educate the public, in order to ensure that we liberate the country and the country. Now, political parties can exist. When the coup d'etat occurred, I was among the first they gave ministerial posts. I didn't accept it. Because I was convinced that unless we enlighten the Gambian people until they make their choice of changing a country, you will not be able to build an economy that serves them. Political patronage will always prevail. So we continue to demand to return to democratic constitutional rule, and that happened. After the victory of 1996, I was again in 1997 offered a ministerial post by the then government. I didn't accept because the manner of government was not the manner that I was convinced will ultimately lead me to live the legacy I want to live. And that is a genuine, emancipated, economically and politically emancipated country where the people live in liberty, dignity, and prosperity. That is my aspiration. So to answer your question, taking a long call,
it's good.
Yes,
it's educated us as well, so we can know more.
Is when we started the process that we went to effect change, because the country became what people did not want it to be. I agreed to be part of a coalition and to pioneer the coalition. We did so in 2006, we did so in 2011, not having any ambition for power. And then in 2016, you all know that I was the one who invited all the presidential candidates to Kairaba so that we can discuss about a coalition.
Right, that's right.
It is afterwards that we invited the other political parties and people like the Honorable Fatoumata Tambajang and all. We all invited them afterwards, to come and join the talks. So in short, I was at the heart of it. But the essence of the coalition was to bring about a non-partisan government. And a government that will not have any inkling to self-perpetuating rule. That is why we agreed that the president will stand as an independent candidate and will only serve for 3 years. So that people will see that this person has no interest in power. Is just interested so that we can have a new country that all will own. Now, having attained, we know what the crisis, we know the impasse. Who governed Gambia when President Barrow was in Dakar? This country changed without any looting. This country changed without any government documents being destroyed. This country changed, without any uprising. This country changed without the security forces creating any havoc. And this is before economic forces came into this country. Economic came and found a peaceful country.
Very peaceful.
They didn't come and find a disturbed country.
That's right.
So essentially, everything was managed properly. The returnees came back, over 50,000 of them. Those who were internally displaced, over 120,000 settled. So we had a team that worked together to make all this possible. Of course, it's not time yet to write history, but the history will be written. In fact, I'm writing a book, The Impasse, and all this will be made very clear.
Wow, okay.
So the situation then, what I'm saying here, is that President Barrow, if he was left to establish a think tank, where all Gambians with all areas of specialization will be invited to form clusters of experts to help to prepare a development blueprint. And he is left by the coalition partners that let him select his ministers on the basis of professionalism, on the basis of experience, on the basis of their capacity to deliver. Well, obviously, whoever is selected will see that this type of government is just a transitional administration, not aiming to put any party at the head of any government in the future. So I must say that in my own situation and the situation of Doi, we felt that being part of a government where some people are selected on partisan basis to occupy this and that, and at the end of the day, these people are thinking in this way, these people thinking this way, how would you really own the result? How would you own the policies? We knew that we cannot own the policies. Therefore, the best place for us is to be in the National Assembly to at least influence President Barrow, who is the executive. But we cannot influence his ministers because they own themselves. If you're a minister, this minister say this in his own department or her department, you say that. Who are you to say, no, what I say is what you're going to do? That's not going to be possible. So in short then, as far as we're concerned, we believe if we're in the National Assembly, we'll always look at all ministries, all policies, everything, and it is President Barrow who independently will be able to see, because the ministers are advisors, will be able to see that this is what is in the interest of the nation, this is going to be my policy. We believe that we can influence the process in a better light by being in the National Assembly than being part of cabinet. That is our answer.
Good point, but still, based on that, many of them seen, why did the other coalition party leaders take position? Why not Khalifa? And then some are saying maybe Khalifa is the community de Fageda. Dolko and Yortal. Some says they offer Khalifa a post. He never tell.
See, that's what I'm saying. That I've answered the reason.
You've been offered a post.
I believe that.
And he said no.
Well, you know, anybody in the coalition could go to President Barrow and say that, well, this is what I want. Then he sees whether he should give you that or he should give you something else. Well, it's a right for coalition members to be able to get ministerial posts. And I don't think any party has been deprived of a post. It depends on whether that post is a post that you believe you'll be able to suit you or not. And that's left for the public to decide whether the post suits the people who are occupying them. But what is important is that it's a coalition that brought about the change.
That's right.
And therefore, there's an obligation. Now, people will say, well, this party has more. Well, those are all subjective discussions, which we are not a part of, because we are convinced that President Barrow is the executive. Ministers are just advisors. He can appoint them, he can dismiss them. So what is important is how he thinks. So getting close to him depends on how far you can influence him to do the things that you believe is right. So if you believe you can, you get closer to him. If you believe that you can get him to do certain things, but others will also get him to do certain things, well, then it's better to continue to give ideas, and he will take what he believes is right for him. He is the president.
Right. But again, we all believe that you are the advisor, or you were the advisor to President Adama Barrow. You know the Constitution more than anyone in the Gambia. Why is it still the Vice President post still pending or open? You know, during that time you were still there. What went wrong? What went on there? Why you never advised? Why you never stepped in and said, okay, this is where the Constitution said, this is what we're doing, and that's how we should do. You know, but still it was left open there.
Yes, you know, that is the danger. One, the assumption that he knows the Constitution more than anybody else. You know, that's an assumption. Okay. Number two, that he did not give advice. You see, when you are close, everything will be heaped on you.
That's right.
You know, I know, that the vice presidency moved. The person who was said to be the vice president was never sworn in. Yes. Eventually, we are told that it's a caretaker of the vice presidency, overseer of the vice presidency. Now, why? You are asking the question that I'm also asking. Why is a substantive holder still not appointed? So in that sense, you continue to say that President Barrow is a human being who has worked with people. He will listen to diverse advisors, and clearly who has advised him to maintain and oversee a position of the vice presidency. When the Constitution is very clear that there should be a vice president. Not only that, it's the vice president who represents the president in the National Assembly and no other minister. So that is very essential, and as you know, it is the vice president who takes over office if the office of president becomes vacant. Now, if you say somebody is overseeing, let's assume that that person does not even have the qualification because he's over age, and something happens to the president. Will there be a vice president to assume office? It will mean that there will be no vice president to assume the office. So where do you go to? You go to the speaker of the National Assembly. Many people don't know that we went through a major crisis, potentially crisis situation. Because President Barrow was in Dakar.
Right.
The time that he was being advised to appoint a vice president, there was a reason. Because at that material time, if something happened to him, the Speaker of the National Assembly was
Yes, from the former regime.
So is the Speaker of the former regime who would have constitutionally assumed the office of president. So at that time, I could not make that public. But President Barrow knows, I know, how tormented,
Sensitive. Yeah.
we were at that particular moment because something had to be done. So the situation is that, and people can make a lot of stories. What is important, we have worked in harmony to deliver a country in peace, handed over to him. And now it rests on his head to decide the type of legacy he would want to leave. I've constantly said to him that the personality he has is very pleasant. It's very easy to work with.
Very easy.
So what is important is for him to retain that, but at the same time make a choice of the type of legacy he wants to leave. I believe once he decides on the type of legacy he wants to leave, he will be the type of president that will not require you to ask the questions you are asking or raise the doubts you are raising.
Good. Are you still gonna contest as a NAM MP after these 5 years term, or
I have said
as a
that
president? What are you trying? What will you
I
do?
have said that I am now reaching the final phase of my service to my country. I came back here determined that I've been offered many posts, even in the public service. There are some people who have said it to the diaspora. At one time, I was being moved from a grade that was much lower to a grade of almost a permanent secretary, and I refused to accept to leave social welfare because I was dealing with the poorest of the poor, and my cause was with them. So I had many opportunities on the Jawara's government, on the Jammeh's government, on the Barrow's government now. And of course my determination is and highly recognized. The same thing under Jammeh's government, the same thing under Barrow's government. So position is not really the issue for me. What I have always wanted to do is to be part of a government that will eradicate the poverty of the country and ensure the sovereignty of the Gambian people. And that is my plan in the past. It is still my plan. And now, in the National Assembly, I would want to do many things in order to help shape the National Assembly because the coalition took over power, so we don't want the coalition to fail in that respect. But we'll do our best. But at the same time, this will be my last standing as a National Assembly candidate. And obviously, it's left to the presidency. I was the DOI presidential candidate before we decided to concede to Barrow. And I still believe that I have something to offer at that level. And if it's not obviously a plan or an agenda, a must agenda for me, if I see all the people who can deliver what I have always aspired to deliver, obviously, I will give them the support that they would need to have. But that is a role that I still would leave open, that if society believes that I could occupy that particular position for a period of no more than 5 years, I do not intend to occupy after State National Assembly, any other post for more than 5 years, and deliver what I believe Africa deserves, well, I may still be willing to do so.
As a human being, have you ever regret, what's your biggest mistakes in your life, or something that you want to revise that you regret it has happened?
Well, yes, something happened to me at Howard University. I was working at night. I was working during the day and going to school at night. And the work was very, just imagine, we were doing electroplating. So you get up 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock to get ready to go almost many, many kilometers to go and work and then come to school. I was supposed to apply to be an associate lecturer, which would have provided me with, all the facilities I need, and I don't have to go and do the laborious work that I had to do to get money to pay fees. And but I waited until the last day because of the work that I had to do. You cannot leave, you cannot get permission, to struggle, and just decided to leave early. But then I arrived late at the office, and I met a woman who refused to listen to my plea. I explained, I told him, you see, woman, you're going to regret this because, I believe I'm going to be somebody very significant for the African people, for my country, for Africa. And this is an opportunity for you to assist me. But she cared less. And definitely, I said things that I would not want to say again, because it was very pompous, and I felt that, well, that was it. So I could not have that opportunity, and she deprived me of that opportunity. And that is something that I would not have wanted to interact with a person of color, remembering that this is that person who deprived me of an opportunity which would have made me to achieve what I wanted to achieve at the age of 26, 27, and probably would never have come to the Gambia to even finally decide, because coming here and saw a person like Sam Sarr at Gambia High School teaching sixth form with all the potential, the intelligence, I just felt that, well, even though I had not finished my PhD at that time, that there was no need to go back and try to finish an academic career, and that my duty was now to serve the Gambia and never to leave the Gambia again for any other shores until I go to my grave. So that was the end of a career, an academic career, which I believe I have potential. I was an A student, highly respected by my teachers and professors, and the community, Gambian community, because Washington DC was a large Gambian community, and they still know me in the symposia. So I had a tremendous impact within the community. But maybe that part of my life could have been different, and that I would have believed that sister would have given solidarity at that material time.
Or to sympathize you.
She did.
Yes. Final question. Are you still the spokesperson for the coalition government? And is the coalition still existed? Does the coalition still have plan, short time, long time?
Well, the coalition has achieved its fundamental aim. It was regime change, and the regime has changed. It was not the objective of the coalition for system change, because the policies that you will need to change a system and bring about the type of Gambia that I envisage cannot be implemented under the coalition agenda as it is. So I believe that the most that President Barrow could do is to make Gambia better than he has found it. And I believe he will do that.
Are you in good terms with President Barrow? OJ and Hussein Dabo and my Fati.
Well, I believe that everybody knows.
Are you people in communication? Like
What?
before, when it was time for changing, maybe you guys might be talking twice a day or once
Well,
in a
the
week.
coalition changed in nature. You know, we used to meet as coalition leaders, but when the National Assembly election came, and I decided to stand. Of course, our original objective was to stand as coalition independent, but that became impossible, and therefore people stood as
Why is it impossible?
party. Well, some did not believe that that was the way forward, and that it would destroy their political parties. So when that happened, then it was no longer the coalition that became the priority. It's the political parties that became the priority. So in that sense, you do not have the type of coalition that we had before. But what is maintained the coalition is President Barrow, who is an independent presidential let's say,
Candidate.
well, he's no longer a candidate. That's what I wanted to say. He's now a president.
He's a president.
I don't know whether we can independent president, but essentially he's a president that did not come to office through the party tag. And he has also committed himself to 3-year transition. Whether that will happen or not is another matter. But I believe with that, it is our duty to assist him. So I believe that he has the goodwill of everybody who has been part of the coalition. Now, for the other ministers, I believe all of them are just simply doing what their different errands are. And here and there, of course, you hear detentions without trial, and we criticize it. So who is responsible? We don't know. But these are issues that we are not discussing as a coalition to be able to address. And now it is the National Assembly that will help us to handle such issues.
Mr. Salla, nice meeting you, and I will say once again, Ramadan Mubarak. I hope we'll come see you when the passport arrives, inshallah. In my own belief, before Friday, you'll get the passport. So definitely the people overseas, could have your lecture, and then they could listen to what is Pan-Africanism. It's not about terrorism. It's not about racism. It's about where we came from and who we are. So,
and where we are going.
And where we are going. Thank you very much from the team of the South Connect and Choice Africa TV and all the people that are going to watch this program. We say it's an honor meeting again, and we hope to come back when the passport finally got the visa. Her Majesty's Service, please do something. Put this visa on, this passport on DHL. Let it arrive soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Peace. Well, let's
Thank
take
you.
a picture. kon nag mbokk yi lii leen ñu waxtu bi may ak honorable Khalifa Salla fii ci këram Serekunda di waxtaan si politics in generally way forward in the Gambia, and also moom taxawaayam bi si diggante moom moo président HE Adama Barrow ak coalition team bi dégg ngeen ko si lameñ Khalifa Salla leer na cak woto mbaadungol ñi waato nga wala sotale jang on South Connect Choice Africa TV waato ñinna dinale ne honorable Khalifa Salla le moy jang nala diamo aning president HE Adama Barrow tema aning coalition tema anala role je aning menon constitutional right minute tuta aning minyanta kala woto honorable Khalifa Salla mbafla barka bake foni wati ko tan natala silola nsa buñaro futande unique solution la internet solution o mi alon ka ba Gambia jang fastest one nom ni mi futata je tariyar moy ka sotol unique solution di len wax jerejef yeen wa unique solution ku buga internet bu gaaw te reliable steady strong dëgër unique solution ngay dem su loolu weese ñu gërëm global properties house for every Gambians in the Gambia and outside Mr. Fraser and the co. Merci. Ala baraka from Lamin Cham, Alaji Ndaw. Take care.